Good morning and welcome to the Chronic Pain Call-In Show, the only show about chronic pain where you can call in live. I'm your host, Josephofborg. I'm here every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific Time. I look forward to talking to you. Good morning. Welcome to the Chronic Pain Call-In Show. Just taking a second here to check my mic, make sure we're up and running. Everything looks good. Good morning. Today we're going to discuss how I cope with my chronic pain, and to be honest, the simple answer is sometimes I do it very poorly. That's simply being real with you guys, wanting to keep it that way. I don't want to blow smoke up anybody's ass. I don't want to make it sound like I've got all the answers, because I don't. But today I made a few notes to discuss with you guys how I try and cope with my chronic pain, and we're just going to roll with that. So, thank you as always for joining me. Hope you got some coffee. I appreciate your time. The number one thing that I find helps me cope with my chronic pain is I try to have an attitude of gratitude. And I know that may sound trite, but it is part of my basic faith system. I think of myself as a Christ follower. I don't care much for the term Christian because a lot of nasty stuff has been done in the name of Christianity. And a lot of people fly that flag, but that's a whole different issue. That said, I try and practice gratitude because it helps set my mindset. I recently did an entire episode about gratitude and forgiveness, and you can check out the page and find that and view that whole thing if you want to. I don't want to rehash that whole thing, but pardon me, you really do reprogram your brain. It's really possible to do that when you practice that attitude of gratitude, when you focus on being grateful. Now, sometimes I have to go globally and be grateful I don't have to walk hours every day to get fresh water. Sometimes you have to go to extremes to find something to be grateful for. Some days it's easier than others. But I do believe that helps color everything else about your life and how you conduct yourself, how things go for you, what your perspective is. I just really feel that it's a crucial thing for me personally to help manage my chronic pain. And some days I'm not successful at it. Some days I have the pity party. I know something that was very powerful for me was when I read some posts, so I don't know what I should call it, just entries or comments, I guess, by Christopher Reeves. And he talked about how, yes, it's not fair, yes, it's not right, and some days he would just cry for 20 minutes in the morning, and then he'd dust himself off and go about his day. So I'm not suggesting that you always have to be, moonbeams and lollipops and rainbows. Some days it sucks, some days it's tougher than others. We're all entitled to feel sorry for ourselves, but that can become a way of life, and you can really learn to wallow in that. And I think that can become a very dangerous situation. So that's how I try and tune and turn my perspective and my attitude by using that particular discipline, if you will. After that, really, I am very blessed that my wife is very supportive. She's been in my corner from day one, even long before I had chronic illness. It seems like it's a rare thing these days for couples to really function as a team. I recently made a Facebook post about her helping me get through a family dinner when my pain level was really high, and helping kind of cover for me and help me get through it. I really would be lost without her. I often half-jokingly say that I must have done something great in a previous lifetime to deserve her. I really do feel she's better than I deserve. So I'm very blessed in that regard. It can be a very fine line when it comes to dealing with our loved ones. And again, I've talked about this on previous episodes, uh, between being honest about your pain and whining constantly about your pain. A quick tip that I'd like to share with you guys is that our system is pretty simple. I mean, we've had all the conversations. She knows what's up. She believes me about my pain. I mean, if your spouse simply doesn't believe you, that's a whole nother issue. But when she gets up in the morning and we're having our coffee, she'll usually ask me how I'm doing, and I'll give her a number 1 to 10, what my pain level is. Also, a number 1 through 10 of what my emotional state is, because sometimes my pain can be low, but I'm having a tough day emotionally, or vice versa. So, without beating a dead horse on that, like I said, I did a whole episode about dealing with your loved ones. I'm trying to find topics that I think you guys will benefit from and enjoy. So if you've got a suggestion, put it over in the chat, make the comment, bring up a topic you think that you'd like to hear about, you'd like me to speak on, because I want to help you guys. I want to value your time, and I really would like to talk about issues that you guys find near and dear. I'm not seeing the chat updates, so if anybody's posting in the chat, I apologize if I'm not responding to it. It's might be a tech issue, might just be that nobody's typed anything yet. So I go through certain behaviors to try and help manage my chronic pain, and I'm going to talk about those too, even though I don't know that all of them are necessarily good suggestions, and I know for a fact not all of them are healthy. Just being honest once again, because I do try and keep it real with you guys. But before I get onto that, I should talk about my friends. Now, when I was working, I thought I had a ton of friends. Who were coworkers and whatnot. I lived about 3 miles from where I worked, and during the 8 months that I was pretty much housebound waiting to get my spinal cord stimulator, I think 6 people total came by to say hello and check on me and see me. And that was very eye-opening. I believe that, I guess one of the good things of it is you'll find out who your true friends are and who's really in your corner if you get a chronic illness or or chronic pain. People will sort themselves in a hurry. Um, and that's one of the reasons I started this show. It's one of the reasons I make videos and have an online presence, is because I have made friends virtually, or as I call them, my digital friends. Um, I know social media and whatnot takes a lot of flack that it's not a valid form, or that it's all very impersonal and fake and people aren't real, but it doesn't have to be that way. If you'll have the courage to be vulnerable and honest and open with people, you can actually build meaningful relationships, especially in this day and age with video conferencing or live streaming like this. This really came to me as a reality when the CDC first started clamping down on drugs, or on pain meds, I should say. Several people I know committed suicide because they lost their meds. And I found myself actually grieving for these people. And I had never actually met them in real life. And that's when a light bulb went on for me that I could actually have meaningful relationships with people through the internet, and that it wasn't just impersonal, casual relationships. You can really use technology to break the barrier of isolation so many of us have as we lose mobility, or it becomes more difficult for us to leave the house. So there's lots of good resources out on the internet. I'm not going to list all of them. If you do a Facebook search for pretty much any condition you've got, there's some groups out there for just about everything. Shop your groups wisely. Some people seem to really love scaring the hell out of people. Some groups, use some discretion and take it with a grain of salt, just like you would with anything on the internet. So, um, if anybody could do me a favor, I'm really curious if the chat's working at all or not. Just somebody just type in hi. Uh, anyway, with that, I'm going to move on to some of my behaviors that I engage in to try and manage my chronic pain. Things I use, things I do. Um, I've gotten to the point where I really can't exercise on land very well. I do walk the patio in the backyard whenever I let the dogs out. I do try and do a little bit of stretching during the day, but really I don't get much exercise on land. What I try and do is I go to the Y and I try, emphasis on try, to get there 3 times a week. And I don't swim per se in the pool. I do core work. Sometimes I pretend I'm skipping rope, but I pull my knees up as high as I can in the water towards my chest to try and work my abs and my core, or I'll hop from side to side like I'm skiing moguls. I'll do like a Nordic track movement with a couple of the aqua foam dumbbells and slide my feet and move my hands like I'm on a, if anybody remembers what the Nordic track machines were like, to try and work my cardio a little bit. I do it in a 2-hour block because here's the deal. With my nerve compression issues, just moving and especially using my upper extremities is painful for me. And the more I do, the worse my pain gets. When I stop, my pain subsides a bit. It doesn't completely go away, but it does diminish. So I will... hey, thanks for typing hi. Good to see that the chat's working. Once I get in the pool and I get to a certain point, my endorphins start to kick in. I've heard it referred to as the runner's high. I'm not familiar with the runner's high because I don't run. I always tell people if you see me running, you should probably start running too, because something's coming. But once the endorphins kick in, first of all, I have a protein shake about an hour before the pool. I just don't eat a more conventional breakfast because I don't want a lot of food or anything in my stomach. Obviously, when you're getting in the water, we were all told that by our moms, right? But because when my endorphins start flowing, the adrenaline starts flowing because my pain level elevates. I start to get queasy. I start to get nauseous. At some point, usually about 30 minutes or so in, the nausea subsides. I get past that, and that's when I get into the runner's high or whatever you want to call it. And once I'm in that zone, then I might as well stick with it and push it as far as I can push it. There's no sense in me just going through the nausea and all the pain that goes with the added activity and then quitting right away. So that's why I do a 2-hour block. I'm not saying that's great for you. Obviously, talk to your doctor. There's lots of information on exercises you can do in the pool. Basically, anything you can do for core work, like elbow to knee stuff, that you could do laying on your back on the land, you can do standing up in the water, and the balance isn't an issue. You don't have to worry about falling down. Plus, the pressure, the hydrostatic pressure from the water helps your heart and lungs work better. Because let's face it, a lot of us who have chronic pain are also out of shape. Not all of us, obviously, but if it's hard to be mobile, it's hard to keep your weight under control. Which goes to my second thing. And, I try to own my own mess. Comfort foods, eating, it goes with part of the pity party, right? The stereotype is sitting on the couch with the Haagen-Dazs or the Ben and Jerry's. Hey, I'm not above it. Comfort foods, high fats, high carbs, creamy, juicy, chips. Sometimes I do it. I indulge more than I should, obviously. Like I said, it's not necessarily healthy, but sometimes I got to do what I got to do to help me get through the day, to find some pleasure in life. Hey, I'm human, okay? it's what I do. Is it good for me? No, I know I shouldn't do it, but I do it. And hey, I commit to the project. An open bag of Doritos is an empty bag of Doritos around me. I know I should use a bowl and take some out of the bag. Am I successful at actually doing that? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. A lot depends on my emotional state. You know, I had, you know, I'm not going to lie. I have bad episodes just like everybody else. December was really tough for me. We had to put our favorite dog down, and I know I shouldn't say favorite because, kind of like kids, you hate to admit you have a favorite, but especially my wife's favorite dog, we had to put her to sleep. That's kind of started a spiral. I had a bunch of extra doctor's appointments, possible diagnoses. Maybe you got this, maybe you don't. Try this, try that. Bunch of testing. And I just didn't manage well. And I managed to pile on probably 15 pounds in the last 2 months. So now I got to go struggle to get that back off, which again is really hard to do when your mobility is limited in you're getting a funk and you just want to sit and eat. And of course, we had the holidays, so all kinds of crappy food was around, and hey, if you're looking for an excuse, you'll find one, right? Let's be honest. I don't have to buy the holiday candies and foods and bring them home and eat them, but I do. Because and I just know it, and I guess for me, there's a certain power in admitting it. So anyway, if you've got tips and tricks on how you manage your pain, I'd love you to share them. The other thing before I go I should mention is finding something worthwhile to do. That's why I make videos. It gives me something positive to do. I absolutely love it when I get comments that I've helped somebody out. It makes me feel like I'm doing something worthwhile. It makes me feel like I'm being a light in dark places, which again is a tenet of my belief system. That's why we're all here, is to help one another out. So with that, I want to thank you for watching. I want to tell you how much I value the time you spend with me. Help me help you by leaving a comment and telling me what you want to hear about, suggesting show topics. If you want to check out my other channels and pages, they're all in the descriptions, along with ways that you can support my efforts and my videos. And with that, Joseph of Borg, one love. I'm out of here.